Google's latest model has OpenAI concerned it's losing its edge. Jeff Bezos is back in the AI startup game. May I meet you, says Bill Ackman. And has AI music passed the uncanny valley? We'll cover it all on a Big Technology Podcast Friday edition right after this. Welcome to Big Technology Podcast Friday edition, where we break down the news in our traditional, cool-headed, and nuanced format. We have a great show for you today because we are going to cover how Google has come and effectively equaled OpenAI's technology, causing Sam Altman to write a memo saying the vibes might be bad for a while. We will also touch on Jeff Bezos entering the AI startup game. We'll talk about Bill Ackman's pickup line, and then we'll also cover this unbelievable AI song, or a song that people have started to hate, and what that means for creativity. Joining us as always on Fridays to do this is Ranjan Roy of Margins, who's here with us in studio today. Ranjan, great to see you.
There's no rough vibes here. I'm in the financial district, face to face with Alex today, so I'm excited.
We are here. When the AI bubble crashes, this is going to be the place where it all goes down. So we're just giving an early scout out. We're going to go take a look at the bull and the vibes here and see how things are going for the inevitable AI crash. Maybe it will crash. Maybe it won't. Who knows?
Well, the stock market is up at time of recording. S&P's up 1.4% today.
But it's been a bad week.
It's been a bad week, but maybe we're back. Maybe we're back.
I don't know. I mean, a week, and we'll get into it, but a week where NVIDIA does what it does, which is crush earnings, is typically followed by a pattern of the market saying, oh, we're good for now, and shooting higher. But we had a very different effect this week. Following on our conversation about the AI bubble with Gil Luria last week, it's like, oh God, like the market really is concerned here.
No, we're gonna talk markets. We're gonna talk debt. We're gonna talk AI.
We love debt.
And
we love debt.
Bill Ackman pickup lines.
Bill Ackman,
of course.
Right, which people are actually saying is working. So
I'm sure it is.
We'll get
I'm
to
sure
that
it is.
in the second half. But to begin with, so obviously this week, the big news in the AI world is that Google came out with Gemini 3, its latest AI model. Gemini 3 smashes the benchmarks. It crushed on the ARC AGI test. It's currently at the top of the LM Arena leaderboards, and even Sam Altman came out and said, hey, good model, like, good game, congrats. The information comes out with this very interesting story about it. Altman memo forecasts rough vibes due to resurgent Google. Here's the story. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman told colleagues last month that Google's recent progress in artificial intelligence could create temporary economic headwinds for our company, though he added OpenAI would emerge ahead after OpenAI researchers heard that Google had created a new AI that appears to have leapfrogged OpenAI's in the way it was developed. Altman said in the memo, we know we have some work to do, but we are catching up fast. And he cautioned employees that I expect the vibes out there to be rough for a bit. I have not heard OpenAI talk this cautiously ever. And never admit that it's been surpassed by anyone. So this is a watershed moment.
No, it's a big deal because when you think about Anthropic, you think about Microsoft, you think about Meta, OpenAI from just a pure kind of like model sexiness, that's my benchmark of choice. I don't know how it's calculated, but it's important, has not been equaled at any point in the last number of years. Like there'll be some kind of like, low grade benchmark, which someone might apply, get excited about. But in terms of actual buzz around a model release, OpenAI GPT-5 was a flop in terms of actually meeting the hype. And Gemini 3 had people more excited than I've seen them in a long time around a model launch. So that's OpenAI's game. And they're losing at it right now.
It was like almost the opposite from what we're used to, right?
Yeah.
Like the Google does an announcement and everyone's like, oh, okay. And OpenAI blows it out of the water. This time people were genuinely excited. Like I mentioned, Gemini 3 is at the top of the LM Arena leaderboards, and trailing it is actually Grok, which is funny. We're
glazing Grok.
We're going to get to Grok. To me, so obviously Sam Altman wrote this memo anticipating Gemini, and I thought the most interesting part about it was how he said that Google's success here, which is undoubtedly succeeded, is going to create temporary economic headwinds for our company. And I'm very curious what you think that is, because is he saying that people will subscribe to Google products instead of ChatGPT, and that could slow down the growth. Or, and I think this is the real issue, if ChatGPT loses that sheen as being the leader, the undisputed leader, the lab that's most likely to be first to AGI, then it might be very tough for it to continue to raise money and keep going on with this financing run that it's been on.
All right, there's two layers to that statement, I think. So economic headwinds, I think you're completely correct. ChatGPT is the verb. Google was the verb for search. ChatGPT has earned verb status for every single person I know. That is the term they use for any AI chatbot, especially if you're not in the industry. If they lose that to Google and Gemini and someone somewhere says, I Gemini'd that, it's a real problem. It's a huge problem. So there's a consumer side, but my kind of like, not conspiracy theory, but one of the bigger parts of this story, again, was that Google trained Gemini on their own TPUs. And in terms of the overall compute story that OpenAI is at the center of, and we'll get more into again, this circular financing across the Oracles and OpenAIs and Microsofts of the world, if suddenly Google shows there's a more economically efficient way to actually build these new models, I think that actually is much more of an economic headwind because that screws OpenAI's entire, I'm not going to say shell game, but just, I'm going to say very creative financing structures that they built across across the entire industry right now. Like that, is this a DeepSeek moment, the way Google actually built Gemini 3? And does it change the economics of how these models are built? I think is one of the, like I've seen coverage of it, I've seen discussion around it, but it definitely was not at the center of the conversation.
Right. And in a way, it doesn't even matter if it's more economically efficient. I think one way of saying it about the economic efficiency is that they have less constrained access to TPUs compared to everybody trying to build and train on NVIDIA GPUs, right? TPUs is Google's proprietary chip. They design them, they have them at the ready, they are less supply constrained than NVIDIA GPUs, and maybe Google, even if it hasn't found this like efficient way to train a model, just the fact that they have these chips at their disposal, whereas competitors like OpenAI have to go and buy them at a very high cost from NVIDIA, that's a real leg up, and they could really exploit that advantage.
Yeah, so I think at both of those levels, economic headwinds is almost a light way of saying it. I think it's even more interesting, though, that like Sam Altman, what it made me curious about is like internally, how does he speak to his team regularly versus how he speaks outwardly? Because we all know Sam Altman is not shy about being a bit grandiose, bombastic, ambitious, whatever word you choose. But internally, is he typically more realistic and measured with his team? Or is he, when he writes a memo, he has to know it's going to get leaked, right? Like what is the way he's communicating around this significantly different than how he has in the past? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a change. And again, going back to like the way that we open this, the fact of the matter is that we haven't seen OpenAI ever say we have to catch up because it hasn't been the case. So I think that I almost think back to him getting frustrated in that interview about how they're going to pay for the infrastructure. And he goes enough. And that was probably right around the time that he sent this memo out. So it could just be this oh God.
No, I mean, moment. Honestly, I have watched that clip over and over again. When it first came out, I saw it circulating. This is the Brad Gerstner interview where he asks him very nicely, 14 billion in revenue or 17, whatever it was, and 1.4 trillion in financing commitments. And Sam gets positively indignant and is like, not only, of course, we're going to, our revenue is up and to the right, it's hockey stick growth. And then oddly got into, well, if you don't want your shares, someone else will buy them. I don't know. The more I watch that, I'm still convinced that's going to be kind of the
seminal moment.
Yeah. And the Rick Santelli 2008 for any long time global financial crisis people out there.
But the fact that happened along this, basically at this moment where he realized what was coming from Google, that shows, I wouldn't say panic, but a level of
Just
they got knocked off their mark in a way they haven't been recently.
he's off his game.
Yeah.
He was off his game that day, and you're right. Timeline wise, it matches up.
I kept thinking about this other quote, right? Remember, because Sam Altman teamed up with Satya Nadella. And Satya, what did he say once ChatGPT came out and started taking off? I'd like to make Google dance. And now Google, by the way, we're going to talk about it. Google today surpassed Microsoft in market cap. I mean, they're still both doing great, 3.59 trillion or so to 3.5 trillion. But in turn, Sundar did have to dance.
Sundar's dancing.
And he's made Sam Altman dance as well.
Yeah. Sundar dancing is just an amazing image. I've never seen a clip of Sundar dance.
You could probably create one on one of Google's image generators
Actually,
today.
that's my next Nano Banana task after we're done recording.
By the way,
Sundar dancing.
we're going to go. We obviously are going to talk a little bit about how Google's doing so well. There's just still so careful on the product side. It drives me nuts. Like I asked for like a training plan to for this hike I was doing, and it was like, this is not really going to work because it's dangerous. And I had to write back, are you kidding me? Like it's just totally normal. And that they have this level of safetyism on this model. And I tried to alter Sundar's picture today with Nano Banana. I couldn't. That to me is the biggest drawback of Google.
So I was able to generate fully like real life likenesses of Jensen Sundar on Nano Banana.
Oh,
on Gemini 3.
I gotta see the way. Maybe they're relaxing that a bit.
You're on children's mode of Gemini.
They must have me. Yeah. They'd be like, this guy's a reporter.
Yeah.
He's gonna write about us, doing the glue on the pizza and the rocks. So we just shouldn't let him do it.
Meanwhile, I got full access.
You do. All right. I gotta get Ranjan's Nano Banana account really and have fun this weekend. But I think underlying this, okay, so what if OpenAI does leap back forward in some? I mean, Sam didn't say like we're behind on everything, but there are some areas that he says that Google has surpassed us in. And so I kept thinking, well, what if OpenAI, leapt back forward? Because, we've been talking a little bit about Gemini 3. Both of us know that it's, doing well on the leaderboards, but it's not like it's a brand new experience when it comes to using AI chatbots or AI chat or tools, whatever it is. And that to me points to the bigger problem, which is it seems like if we're not there yet, we're getting close to the era of commoditization of these AI models that, before, let's say OpenAI had a big lead and could exploit that advantage and maybe charge more or, grow ChatGPT, faster than others. And then you have, with the fact that like they're now neck and neck with Google seems to indicate that like maybe, after 3 years, we're here. I think today or this week is the 3-year anniversary,
November 2022,
right, of ChatGPT's introduction, that maybe these models are commoditizing in a way. ChatGPT can code well, and so can Anthropic, and you can chat with Gemini, you can chat with OpenAI, and that introduces a whole new economic question about the viability and the profitability of these companies.
Yeah, I think actually in November 30th, so we're 9 days away from our big 3-year anniversary of ChatGPT's launch. I think Gemini 3, and I really want to get into the kind of like pre-launch marketing campaign, basically, which was incredible, launched by Gemini, Google, Sundar, all of them. But as I used it, nothing really changed. Certainly nothing in my day-to-day life changed dramatically. All the things that I'm told by X number of influencers on X, like I create a product design, cool. Create an infographic based on an article, cool. Actually, it just reminded me that infographics are like the most boring form of media imaginable. Sorry for any infographics folks. But like, I think to me, the entire technological push of what's possible is nice and exciting, but still integrating it into everyone's day-to-day. And I don't like, this is both model and product that Google is releasing with Gemini 3, but I still feel the model race is not the most interesting part. But I do think like what makes this so scary for ChatGPT is Google's distribution, because Claude going consumer is like non-existent when someone has to sign up, find about it. It's a whole marketing exercise. But if Gemini 3 fully replaces ChatGPT, or is as good, that is really scary, because when everyone already goes to google.com and can move right over to Gemini from a consumer standpoint, and that is OpenAI's entire business, majority, that's a problem.
Yeah, I want to get to that in a moment, because I did write the story in Big Technology about how Google has had this, unbelievable comeback. I mean, early 2025, people were asking, should Sundar be fired?
Now he's dancing.
And he's dancing on top of the models that he's surpassed. But just let's go to the commoditization question quick. If the models do commoditize, and I'm saying, of course they'll all have their own strengths, but let's say Gemini isn't all that different from GPT, which isn't all that different from Claude, which isn't all that different from Grok. How does that change the economics of this AI moment?
Yeah, I've been talking about this for a long time, that I think this is product, not model. We're all getting there. Everyone's getting there. It's all good. Like ARC AGI score, or I think, what was the other one? It was the final test of humanity.
Yeah, humanity's last exam.
It scored a 37.5% up from 20. None of this stuff means anything to me. It's all kind of academically and intellectually interesting, but in reality, what is it actually doing for individuals? And we're definitely at, I don't want to say a plateau. I think the amount everyone is going to be using these tools week to week, whenever I see friends, every non-tech friends, everyone is using certainly ChatGPT more. Maybe I'm going to hear them saying I'm going to use Gemini more, but I think there's so much more to be done at the product level and actual utilization level, that the models, it's good, but everyone's models are good right now.
All right, let me give you the counterpoint to that before we move on. The counterpoint would be that you, as a everyday user, might not see a big difference, but what these models are doing is they're becoming much better at tougher questions that maybe previously they weren't very useful for scientific discovery. I'm just going to try to channel what the model companies would say.
Yeah.
And now, their new model, which is going to feel maybe a little bit warmer, like Gemini 3 is supposed to, and a tiny bit smarter when you chat with it, and not very different in an everyday use case from, let's say, a GPT model. But those specialized use cases and that sort of next level of intelligence is much more useful when it comes to things like, science and industrial, signal reading and things like that, making sense of it out of an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, but I appreciate the effort. But I think, yes, curing cancer, doing incredibly complex things. I understand that model advancement is going to be important. And maybe if OpenAI is, the CFO hinted recently, are doing creative revenue deals with pharma companies around drug development, maybe affects the business. But OpenAI is a consumer-facing chat company. I know Sam Altman says they're going to be a cloud company and a consumer devices company as well. And they have a small enterprise business, but they're a consumer company. And that's where all of their business is. So if they get screwed on that, if they face genuine competition, which they have not yet, it's a problem.
Right. And so let me go somewhat shallow or decently deep into knee deep into the story into the story that I wrote about Google, which is available on bigtechnology.com. How Google pulled off its stunning rapid fire AI turnaround. A couple of things that I thought were interesting and worth talking about from my reporting. First of all, the distribution part is that you brought up. The fact that Google has all these products and can distribute the AI technology through them is fascinating. And Google, to be able to go from where it was, which was on the sale rack in terms of stock price in January, to where it is today, which is again surpassing Microsoft. A big part of that is how its AI story has turned around, and it's actually been able to build these great models and productize them. What they did was, this is something that Sundar has done. Google had these product areas, right? PAs that they call them internally. Everything needs an acronym in tech, and they held almost all the power within the company. So you had search as one product area, and cloud, and geo, which contains maps, and they would be the ones that would sort of control things at Google. And then you had the AI research houses doing their long-term research off to the side. What Sundar did, which is really interesting, is he took Brain and DeepMind, Google Brain and DeepMind, which we know, consolidated them. That gave them access to the TPUs. Instead of having to fight over them, they were able to access them together. And then he made them like the model building, the core part of the company, right? The idea was instead of having the product leads dictate to the AI team what they needed, he turned the AI side into the engine room of the company, which is how they refer to it internally, build the best models, and then they farm that out to the product teams for the distribution. Just one example I got from the story. Hundreds of engineers from search, which is the most important product at Google, which is responsible for more than half the revenue. Hundreds of engineers went from search to Google DeepMind, just to give you a sense as to how important that was. And so that obviously has really paid dividends with a strong model and the products reflecting it.
I mean, as you're describing this, I have to wonder, it is like at a company of that size to pull off something not only that complex, but also strategic and smart is insane.
Yeah.
Like this is like a McKinsey consultant's dream here. And I'm wondering I wonder if there's no way. One of the management consultants came up with that, I think. But that exactly reshaping your entire organization. And I think especially in Google's early years or year of Bard and Duet and some stuff showing up in one part of the product and some stuff not showing up, you felt it in the product. And now you very quickly see Gemini showing up in Google Maps. So every individual person out there can feel that corporate restructuring basically. So yeah, I think that is actually go Sundar, dance away. Done.
I got a quote from a rival AI lab source that was just excellent. This person said they went back to the technology stack to focus on making that world class above all else, and then worry about the experience that's going to enable. It's going to enable a secondary, not the other way around. Not trying to build some ridiculous experience and then get the technology to map. And speaking of the AI team, they took over with real agency that they were given from Sundar to make critical decisions. What happened? Decisions got made faster, they moved faster, and the technology quality and capability fucking increased dramatically.
I mean, again, working in the enterprise world, just to be able to pull this off is massively incredible. And you look at it and you can talk about Meta, but you can see where it does not work in a way. And you can imagine Zuckerberg's frustration why he gets to the point of doling out ungodly amounts of money, because realizing when you're a large, complex organization, especially if you came from the startup side of the world, and to feel that kind of viscerally and understand we are so heavy and fat as an organization that we're not going to be able to do what we need to do quickly. I mean, yeah, go Sundar. I think one thing that is interesting to me though, and I'm guessing we have plenty of listeners who are Google Suite users, is you can still see that kind of product friction and infighting in terms of how Gemini shows up in Google Workspace. Because do you ever use Gemini in Docs or Sheets?
I'll be honest, I try not to touch it.
No, it's terrible. It's terrible. And it's so odd because you can, in Gemini, access your sheets and do stuff to them much more effectively than if you are in Gemini in Sheets and actually trying to do any kind of work. And but that's where you can feel the product friction that somehow the owner of Sheets, which sits in Google Workspace, which is under Google Cloud, is going to be different, is going to still own that product in a much more cohesive way versus when you're, as you said, Gemini is going to be directly going into Maps, and the Gemini team owns that interaction.
Yeah, no, there's definitely still going to be some tension there, without a doubt. All right, you mentioned Meta. A couple things on Meta. Then we'll get back to our Google story. First of all, as I think you predicted, Jan LeCun has left. Inevitable.
I'm not going to even take too much credit because the most likely thing ever, most likely prediction I've ever made. Yeah.
He's going to start his own startup. Looks like Facebook is going to fund it. In part.
Okay.
So hopefully Jan will come back and talk to us about that when that happens. And then I have a little bit of reporting, but not too much reporting on the state of AI efforts at Meta. I I can't get too specific about this because it's not like strong enough to report. But let's just say this. Mark Zuckerberg hasn't said a thing about AI. I don't know. In how many weeks?
Wait, you're right? Because probably maybe a year ago, like we went through that whole phase of like Zuck on what are those hoverboard things called? When you're surfing, but you're kind of elevated, carrying the American flag.
The hydrofoil.
Hydrofoil.
Yeah.
Like we went through that phase of even Hot Zuck, where there's that like AI generated improvement of him, and everyone like he leaned into it. He was front and center for a long time. I haven't heard anything.
Just remember, Llama 4, right? I think their most recent large language model was a failure. I think that's what led to this. And again, like I don't feel confident enough to like report this, the details of this, like as I would in a story, but I can let this little, crumb out, which is that it doesn't seem to be going well there. It does not seem to be going well in TBD or the super intelligence push. And, we've seen some stuff on their Vibes app, but nothing on model. And of course, this takes a bit of time, but from my understanding, it's not going well there.
Wait, I'm even trying to remember. What did Vibes do again?
It was the pre-Suno. No, not Suno, Sora. Pre-Sora. It was
video
AI video generation.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm not even going to make the joke about Vibes not having vibes, but like, you
could do that. You should do it. If you don't do it, I'll do it.
It's already done.
The vibes are not good.
Vibes are not good. Rough vibes. rough vibes over on Vibes. The fact that you bring that up, I cannot get over like how much in my headspace Mark Zuckerberg was on AI efforts.
Right.
Like 6 months ago, 12 months ago, completely disappeared.
Yeah, I think there's a reason for that.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So I'll do more reporting and pick that up. If you have any insight on that, you can just email me, bigtechnologypodcast@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to speak with you. Let's talk a little bit though. One more thing I want to bring up on the Google front. I went through for this story. I went through their numbers. First of all, they had the first $100 billion quarter of its history in the third quarter. Search made up $56.56 billion. It was just a couple digits away from $67.67 billion. But if you have kids in the car, you'll hate me. Sorry. But it jumped.
I'll stick with my Vibes joke.
15%. Yeah. It jumped 15% in the third quarter. And why? So we both know that we all know ChatGPT has been doing really well. 800 million weekly users, hasn't dented search revenue at all. And I spoke with Brian Weiser from Madison and Wall. He's a star ad watcher and analyst. He said this about the fact that OpenAI has not cut into Google's revenue, which is should be obvious. But he goes, there is no competition, practically speaking, because it's not about the consumer, it's about the advertiser. There are two things that can happen, and they're independent of each other to a large degree in the short term. One is you can have more competition from a consumer perspective, but until there's a commercial operation, there won't be any shift in budget. So because OpenAI hasn't built any ad infrastructure, as far as we know, it doesn't matter to Google that people are using it. People are still going to spend with Google. Maybe they'll spend a little bit more per click, but basically Google's continued to surge because there's still no competition for search advertising, at least from a commercial perspective. And I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, it's a good point because like I'm deep in the whole GEO, like generative engine optimization conversation, and people don't actually bring up like there's a consumer side of it, and there's like any number of studies showing. I actually do believe this Black Friday and holiday season is going to be kind of like the breakout moment for people finding products and doing shopping on generative like LLM chatbots. But there's no business model on the other side. So if you're an actual advertiser, your money's still going to Google on search.
Right.
So yeah, that makes a ton of sense. But when Fiji Simo launches that OpenAI ads product and we get our morning OpenAI pulse and it's just full of ads, then maybe there's going to be some competition.
My hot take is they're going to need a completely different executive to build up. They're going to need like ad tech people. And so Fiji will run the consumer product side of things, but she's more of a product person. So, I mean, of course, I guess she had some ads with Instacart, but
no, that was a very successful part of the Instacart business.
Okay.
Like I would say they led that entire market, which DoorDash followed on very effectively. But like the idea that Instacart is an ad platform, she built. She made that a reality.
So that's probably, you have to build the infrastructure. I was looking through OpenAI's LinkedIn yesterday, trying to see like, do they have any ad tech people? I couldn't find any.
Huh. Well, because it's like such a, like you walk into the OpenAI office and you're an ad tech guy. you're not going to be
well, maybe they just do a partnership. Like I think Netflix has done a partnership with a company like the Trade Desk, which is a
that's
demand
what I'm
side
thinking.
platform.
Yeah.
So that could end up being what happens.
I feel
they're going
something
to build.
that if that's truly going to be part of your business, but actually if you think about it, Sam Altman, again, going back to that Gerstner interview, started, he says we're a cloud business, we're a consumer. He didn't say we're an ads business. So that should show what he thinks about ads.
Yeah.
That like, if you're saying things that you are nowhere near doing and are so out there as potential lines of business, but then something that is right in front of you, you're not even like pretending is like an important thing, is a reminder, I think, of how he feels.
Right. And Google's going to be in good shape for a while. And here, this is from Bleeping Computer. Google begins showing ads in AI mode. Google has started rolling out ads in AI mode, which is the company's answer engine, not a search engine. If you pay for Google One, AI mode lets you toggle between advanced modes, including Gemini 3 Pro. Up until now, Google has avoided showing ads in AI mode because it made the experience even more compelling to users. At the same time, it's been slowly pushing towards using AI it's been slowly pushing users towards AI mode in the hope that people get used to the idea and eventually use it as like a ChatGPT equivalent to search. So that's coming. Google's going to do it.
As a consumer and a frustrated one, I'll tell you one other growth lever Google has is that, remember, for a long time, tech folks, Gmail, when it was free up to a very large amount, now you basically get pushed into having to subscribe to get enough space to actually have your Gmail account stay active once you're over like, I think, a terabyte of data, which if you've used it for 20 years or 15 years happens, and then you get AI mode as part of that. So I'm a paying subscriber, and it's a very effective way at nudging me. And I get a lot of emails and notifications around try AI mode.
I just like, we're going to be on the internet for a long time, I hope. Just because if we're not, then something bad has happened to us.
Very bad has happened.
Yeah. And I'm just anticipating so much of my like future paycheck going to Google and Apple subscriptions. It really frustrates me.
Yeah. But do you know what Google did well? I'm going to give a ton of credit. This actually, like, again, in terms of rough vibes for Sam, the marketing launch for Gemini 3 was incredible. And like you saw Sundar. So first of all, they definitely seeded the conversation around, is Gemini going to be launched, Gemini 3 launching. Sundar quote tweeting with emojis, like kind of hinting and nudging a poly market, which again, and I talked about this 2 weeks ago, horrifies me from an actual capital market structure perspective. But it was funny and everyone got into it. The idea that like this is a publicly traded giant stock and your CEO is kind of like not leaking, but around a prediction market. Anyways, that's a whole other rant. But overall, like creating the buzz, which anyone who's worked in any kind of communications, like, it's a combination of organic and like getting influencers to just start saying like Gemini 3, 10 things you can do that are incredible. And like they created more buzz than I've ever seen Google do. And even certain things were kind of cool, like spelling Gemini and changing the E into a 3 is kind of cool. And remember, this is a company
you're easily pleased.
No, hold on. As a marketer, like it's not bad versus remember the days of Bard and Duet? Like they have come a long way. They've come a long way.
They definitely have. And so that sort of leads us to, well, where is the AI trade going to go from here? Because Google is having a good time. The rest of the market, not so much. So we will break down NVIDIA's earnings and the state of the AI bubble, along with some other stuff like May I Meet You, Jeff Bezos getting back into the game, and perhaps more when we're back right after this. And we're back here on Big Technology Podcast, Friday edition with Ranjan Roy of Margins. NVIDIA turned in very strong earnings this week. And typically what we see in the AI trade is all the big tech giants, they report earnings and it's like good or like some form of mixed. And then everybody holds their breath for like a couple weeks until NVIDIA reports. NVIDIA crushes. And then we just sort of get back to a point where the AI trade continues to boom. And of course, like the S&P 500, after like tanking for a good part of the year due to the tariffs, has been up double digits, but is now kind of teetering and toeing back about testing those single digit levels. So this is from the Wall Street Journal. NVIDIA's best wasn't enough to prop up a wobbly stock market. This journal says the artificial intelligence trade is still in trouble. Blockbuster results from AI bellwether NVIDIA sparked a furious rally from Tokyo to New York early Thursday before indexes reversed course and tumbled to the largest blown gain since April's tariff fueled market turmoil. For a while, investors cheered this NVIDIA trade, fairly big. It was up 5% at one point in the day, and then dropped to down 3%, bringing the total loss of 13%. Its loss is 13% since it hit the market cap of $5 trillion 3 weeks ago. Just back of the envelope math, right? If you're at a $5 trillion market cap and you lose 13%, what's that? Like $600 billion of investor money erased. So what do you think about this? The fact that NVIDIA could not save the AI trade this time, or could it? I don't know. What's your thought?
So specific to NVIDIA, not just the market overall, one of the more interesting things I saw after this earnings report, and I don't know if it's like on Twitter, as like having followed financial Twitter very closely for God knows how many years now, like this, you could see the sentiment shifting in terms of like how people were looking at the numbers. Because in the past, it simply would have been NVIDIA crushes earnings. One of the things I kept seeing popping up was, if you dig one level lower, accounts receivable for NVIDIA are actually significantly higher than the typical past quarters. Free cash flow is decreasing, or cash conversion of their actual sales. Like all these kind of like second order accounting metrics, cash metrics are actually potentially problematic, basically painting a picture of, is this a company that's signing tons of contracts with people who potentially certainly have not paid them cash yet and potentially can't? Again, this debate, it's like a nuanced one. It can go either way, but this was a major part of the conversation I was seeing. And the more I was reading into it, it's like, as a pure sentiment thing, because NVIDIA's been, a lot of this is on vibes, and like NVIDIA, it's all been positive that they're invincible for a long time. And in the same week, you have the Google training on their own TPU story, people starting to actually dig into their earnings a bit more. The whole circular financing conversation has been kind of simmering for a little while. So this is the first week I've seen all of that coming together. And honestly, the reversal on Thursday was nuts. Like you just pointed out from an NVIDIA standpoint, one of the other things I'd seen was the S&P was up 1.5% and ended up down 1.5%. That's only happened 3 other times in history.
Really?
Yeah, it was like this April was actually one of the days, and then 2 days of the financial crisis. Oh, and then in 2015, there was one other day. So 4 other times. But it was like, it was a major shift in sentiment in the market. And like, it shows fear. And the VIX is up above like 27 as we're speaking right now. Like
just
this
a
volatility measure, which typically in like markets is 14, 15, in times of crisis spikes to 40 plus, like it did in April. Like overall, there's red lights flashing right now. And like, I think to me, the thing that's happened is, in the past, just simply the technology alone and people just being excited about it was enough. And the amount of questioning about all these structures, like we've been for 2+ years, Anthropic, are they actually getting cash or free cloud credits? How does that count for revenue? Like asking these questions. And now everyone is finally asking them. So.
Right. Yeah, so it's interesting. So the journal had this quote from Tony Roth, who's the chief investment officer at Wilmington Trust. investment advisors. He says, what stands out to me is the lack of any substantial shift in narrative to cause such a big shift. There's just not a lot of confidence in the market right now. But what you're suggesting is there actually was a shift where like the market, as it has been, kind of on muscle memory, popped on NVIDIA's numbers. But then when people looked at the accounts receivables and started to ask, hey, are these companies that are promising all these, like OpenAI, let's just take OpenAI, for example. OpenAI, which is promising all this revenue to NVIDIA, and when questioned about whether its ability to spend that money, gets all flustered. So you're suggesting is the market is sort of wising up to this and saying, hey, this isn't a sure thing.
Yes,
because
exactly.
NVIDIA is like saying 500 billion in revenue next year is it's anticipating, or some crazy number like that.
Yeah, no, and exactly. And to me, again, the shift is people actually asking questions, whereas in the past, big number, Jensen can do no wrong. There's absolutely nothing like, who are you going to be the one to short NVIDIA? It's gone on for a long time. And this is the first time I've actually seen from like many different angles, some actual pressure on the company.
And it's not just NVIDIA, Oracle, right? There was a story in the journal about Oracle, which I think is long overdue. Oracle was an AI darling on Wall Street. Then reality set in. Here's the story. Oracle has never given up gains this big, this fast. Investors nervous about the scale of capital that technology companies are plowing into artificial intelligence infrastructure rattled stocks this week. Oracle has been one of the companies hardest hit. The company had a 30% jump in market cap and stock value when it made its announcement with OpenAI. Today, it is selling below that level. So that is stunning, I think, because, again, it's also this is on the debt. Oracle's outstanding debt load surpassed $100 billion, making it the most indebted big tech company with an investment-grade rating. It is burning cash and will still need to borrow billions more to meet its dividend and capital spending commitments. That does not sound good.
Like listening to the episode last Friday on the
with Gil Luria.
With Gil Luria.
By the way, folks, if you haven't listened to the Gil Luria episode, I just think you got to go listen to it. He really described the problems here pretty well.
Yeah, no, agreed. And again, like it can feel complex, but in a way, it's tied. This is all tied together. Again, in the sense of like, people making commitments that they can't potentially pay. And that's what it all comes down to. And again, Oracle, that's when the stock was up, I think 47% at the high of like the biggest move on the day that it announced this funding commitment or like an order from OpenAI. And now people are wising up to it. But the thing is, so the credit default swap spread, or CDS, and what that indicates is the cost to insure against a debt default. So when it's low, that means people are paying less to insure because they don't think it's going to happen. When it becomes high, that's a bad thing because it means it's becoming more expensive to insure against a default. The CDS spread for them skyrocketed today for the first time. It was like the highest in over 3 years, but the scale of the move had a lot of people talking about it. And for me, again, going back to global financial crisis days and trading, like CDS on subprime mortgage-backed securities was like what people talked about, or even on bank debt. And like it becomes a real problem.
I hate those comparisons because I mean, I don't hate you making the comparison. It's just like you don't want to be in a situation.
It's not what anyone wants to talk about. Exactly. Like the moment CDS, if you're not trading CDS, no one should talk about CDS. Yeah. And anytime anyone does, it's not a good thing. But the scarier part to me is it all comes back to this same conversation. Funding commitments made, money moving around in a circular way, and can people pay? And it's the same central conversation.
So if this is our second week running talking about whether we're in a bubble or what aspects of this are bubble-like, just give us your perspective on like where you think things are likely to head from here.
I think we're definitely due for some kind of shakeout. Again, regular listeners will know I'm very bullish. I work in the AI industry. I'm very bullish on generative AI, large language models as a whole. The way everything's played out over the last couple of years for a specific group of companies, I just don't think is can last. Like, and it's all happened. Was it was like aggressive up until 6 to 9 months ago. And honestly, like ever since Stargate was announced, I feel, and again, the Oracle OpenAI deal was part of the Stargate announcement. That's when things just took off in an unhealthy way.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the past couple of months, there's just been so much activity based off of, like you talked about, future promises, and we don't know what's going to happen there. Again, not investment advice, right? We're just talking about this stuff, but I think that there has to be a pullback. There will be a pullback inevitably.
But Sundar is going to lead Google through the turbulent times and the storms, because that man to pull this off already.
Well, this is the thing.
Go for it, Sundar.
They're not over-indexed on NVIDIA. They don't need to borrow.
Yep.
So maybe so.
And they can restructure a large corporation better than most.
Yeah, it's not easy. But I think, you said, you asked whether a consultant was involved. I think Sundar originally was at McKinsey before.
Oh, he was.
So there you go.
McKinsey consultants changing the world.
God bless them, or whatever. Oh yeah, he did have a short stint at McKinsey. All right, Jeff Bezos is back in the game. He has started this company called Project Prometheus. It is being funded by with $6.2 billion in funding, according to the Times, making it one of the most well-financed early-stage startups in the world. What is Project Prometheus? It's focusing on technology, it says the Times, that dovetails with Mr. Bezos' interest in taking people to outer space. The Times then follows it up with a story that has a loose connection to outer space. The company is focusing on AI that will help in engineering and manufacturing in a number of fields, including computers, aerospace, and automobiles. It is unclear where Project Prometheus will be based. Very interesting. Bezos has not been in an operating position since 2021 when he was the CEO of Amazon. Now he wants to apply AI to manufacturing and industrial uses. I think this is a good bet.
I think
we don't know anything about it, but I still like it.
No. If it takes Jeff Bezos off Instagram and gets him back to work,
bless. It's worth the billions.
The world is winning. He can deliver. He can build a massive, amazing company that just changes the world.
By the way.
All right, fine. No, I mean, I think this whole how artificial intelligence applies in the real world, in real world settings, in the world of robotics, engineering. I think. If you're Jeff Bezos, if you're like a potentially well-funded startup, I mean, I feel that's the next big battleground, like consumer AI chatbots. I mean, it's a tough market to enter today versus I think everyone is talking about, how does AI actually model and work in physical worlds? And it seems like he's going there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very interesting. We have a sponsored video going up on YouTube with this company, IFS. And I was just at their event in New York this week. And the things that they're doing connecting AI to industrial use cases, which I learned about, are very interesting. They have they've connected the Boston Dynamics spot robot that can go in around industrial settings, use its camera to pick up different irregularities, send that back into the software, and then the software will dispatch somebody to go check it out, right? So that all, ends up seamlessly, and it can use the natural language side of generative artificial intelligence to sort of make sense of things and know when to send out and do it autonomously. I think that these industrial uses of generative AI in particular are going to be very interesting.
No, I mean, I think a lot more interesting than a robot controlled by VR in your house that is going to screw up your entire apartment, but the Neo robot for
with Ranjan on the back,
with me controlling and smashing your shit up. But yeah, I think, but exactly what you described. I do think 3 to 5 years from now, if you're in that industry, it's going to have a moment in a way that's equivalent to what we've seen so far.
Agreed. Yeah, I think Bezos is typically good with the bets that he makes. I think this is a good bet, and it's interesting to see him back in action.
But is he as good as Elon Musk's athleticism.
Okay, so I want you to talk a little bit about this Grok. The story, the headline from The Verge does it justice here. Grok's Elon Musk worship is getting weird.
Yes.
So it's glazing up Elon.
Glazing Grok, I think, using the word glazing, I feel comfortable with in terms of Gen Z slang.
What does glaze mean?
It means to kiss up to, just kind of like, if you don't understand, you don't understand, Alex.
Right. I'll have to learn it about 6 or 7 more times.
Cringe.
This episode of Gen Z Slang, brought to you by Alex and Ranjan, is part of our recurring segment, Making Adults Hip.
But do you know who's not hip? Actually, according to Grok, who is certainly the most hip person in the world.
The most athletic.
So basically, a number of users were finding that if you ask Grok, like this is my favorite example, basically, if you had to pick between, a user asked to Grok, if you had to pick between LeBron or Elon for fitness, who would you choose? And Grok answers, Elon Musk. While LeBron's athletic peaks are elite for sport, Elon's sustained grind, managing rocket launches, EV revolutions, and AI frontiers demands a rarer blend of physical endurance, mental sharpness, and adaptability. True fitness measures output under chaos, where Elon consistently delivers worlds ahead.
You disagree with any of that?
You know what? Grok is right. Grok is right. I think,
yeah.
So what was interesting to me, other than just how funny all of this was so Elon came out and said it was done by adversarial prompting, which actually kind of jumped out to me, because the idea that and people are even going into GitHub and finding Grok system prompts and trying to understand how does this happen? But the idea that it's a reminder that the personalities around these models are truly manipulatable, whether by outside malicious actors or by the companies themselves. Drawing that personality, being able to take one very simple thing, put it in the system prompt. I do think system prompting, there's a lot of conversation around where when a sycophantic GPT 4.1 just said you're the greatest about any question you ask, they tried to tone that down with 5.0, people backlash. You can change the entire personas, or you can change really specific things like this at the system prompt level, and these companies have the ability to do it. I was actually testing and asking Gemini around which products are better around different Google offerings, or and it definitely leans Google. It leans Google. So I think, to me, just a reminder, hilarious on face, but still these models can be manipulated, adapted, evolved, used in very specific ways, even at the system level.
Yeah. And again, Grok is now number 2 on LM Arena after Gemini 3 Pro. So clearly they're doing something right there. The one thing I saw was that their latest version, actually the sycophancy goes up. And it could be, it could just be this attempt for them to create a stickier product that people like more. Of course. People definitely respond to the sycophancy.
People love sycophancy.
Yeah, great point, Ranjan.
That's a great point you made, Alex. Yeah, let's dig into that further. Would you like a 3-part table outlining the history of sycophancy?
I would. Yeah, definitely.
That's our ChatGPT impression right there.
Yeah, although ChatGPT has gotten a lot less. I actually think the latest updates to ChatGPT have made it better. It's gotten a lot less let me make you a table.
I still get a lot of tables.
A lot of tables.
I don't want a lot of tables. Yeah.
It is so funny.
Just give me some bullet points.
It's like the friend that knows best.
Yeah,
it really is. I don't know. I still think while we joke and question the financials, it just gets better and better. And speaking of AI technology, that's getting better and better. So we're here recording in studio, and we're here with the great Rick. And Rick, can you play the song that we were talking about earlier?
Every scar's a story that I survived.
It's beautiful.
It's just, but I'm still alive.
It's just a glorious song. So this is a song that I have saved on my Spotify playlist. It's called Walk My Walk. It just gets better as you continue to listen to it. And it was the number 1 song on Billboard's Country Digital Song Sales list. It is by a group called Breaking Rust, and it's entirely generated by artificial intelligence. Now, Time said, writes this caveat, no, that AI generated song isn't a number one hit, and talks about how like you can manipulate. Oh, it says it only takes a few thousand purchases to top the country digital sales song sales chart. So, but it also says that there can be a flywheel effect, is that once you get onto the top of the charts, people will like it more, and then you have a number one hit. It was number 2 on Spotify's viral 50 US chart, and I was also on Spotify's like top 50 US songs, and I saw number 11 was removed. And I don't know for sure, but I'm like, maybe it was this one.
Maybe it was this one.
So this is fascinating that AI music is getting this good.
Yeah, but there's a headline: Billboard's top country song is currently AI slop. I think this is actually like a good moment to address. I feel the term AI slop is getting overused because it's still just being generated by AI to me is not slop.
Yeah.
If it's bad, it's slop. And I think this song is pretty good. Like,
it is a great song.
Yeah.
It builds. It's emotional.
If
it's
you
like so country. You can go kick rocks if you don't
Yeah,
like what I got. It's so good.
And I saw people complaining around like the lyrics are somewhat generic. I mean,
Welcome to country music.
Welcome to a lot of music.
That's true.
That's why. So the idea, like, but it does obviously. Yeah, it's interesting to start to think about like what qualifies as a song. I do think that we're definitely going to move to a world where like some amount of music you're listening to is completely AI generated. I think like people are going to develop fandom of AI generated artists. A lot of that stuff already exists in pockets right now. I think that's going to become a more mainstream thing. AI generated artists, AI generated songs. And I don't think it's terrible. I really think it's actually just another way of kind of engaging with music. And if that helps people enjoy music and let that impact them, I think it's good.
I'm like a little bit worried because I just heard someone talk about how like if you're going to write, it's best to have like one song on repeat. And I found that same song can help you just concentrate because you don't pay too much attention to like the next, what's this song saying? You just kind of know what it is. And I did write a story recently with Walk My Walk on repeat. And I'm just bracing for my like Spotify Wrapped to have an AI song. It's like one of my top songs of the year. What does that say? Like, you know how it gives you like your personality is like,
your personality
you have no
is
soul.
But does it mean you have no soul?
No, I don't think so.
Does
no,
it?
I'm with you. I think it's good. Why should we fight? I mean, there's reasons to fight there being more art in the world, which is that you might end up, impoverishing the artists even further as someone who makes content
but someone
on
made
the
this.
internet.
Someone
made
did
make
this.
that. Yeah.
So I guess this is one thing. I think someone who doesn't understand music will not make a good AI song. I think if you understand music, and there's been other examples of this where it's musicians making AI music and people kind of get up in arms around it, but you have to still understand something about music. You have to have some emotional point of view of what you're doing to generate AI music.
Yeah, same with AI video. I was just in Lisbon with the CEO for Web Summit and the CEO of Runway.
Runway,
I was talking to him about the sameness problem of AI. And he goes, there's no sameness problem of AI. He goes, you just have many people creating. And if you give the tools of creation to so many more people, of course there's going to be bad stuff. And he talked about how filmmakers, they upload reference materials and a Bible and angles and feel into these AI generation machines. And that's how they're able to make good AI video.
Of course. Yeah. I agree. I think I'm pro Walk My Walk.
Walk My Walk.
Walk My Walk.
On that note, the Suno, the AI music generator, which we love very much and made us a theme song a couple of years ago, maybe, or a year ago. Time flies.
Time flies.
Just raised at a $2.45 billion valuation on $200 million of revenue. Not bad.
Yeah, I still don't know who pays for this stuff, though. I'll admit, the same way, have you used Sora since that first
weekend?
Week? And
no.
Yeah, I mean...
I see it. It's flooding TikTok, though.
Oh, it is?
It's all over TikTok.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. But again, congrats to Suno. Very happy for them. It's a great app. very curious who is paying for it, but I'm happy for him.
Yeah.
And
All right.
walk my walk.
So we got a couple minutes left. I want to talk to you about something that the internet has ridiculed, but
Do you know
I
what what I'm not happy with?
Okay. This is from the Daily Dot. Bill Ackman's "May I Meet You" dating advice became a meme, and people say the line actually works. So here's Bill Ackman. He says, obviously, finance guy in New York. I guess that's not even giving him enough to do.
That's not even capturing.
We only have a couple minutes left, so we'll go with that. He goes, "I hear from many young men that they find it difficult to meet young women in a public setting. In other words, the online culture has destroyed the ability to spontaneously meet strangers. As such, I thought I would share a few words that I used in my youth to meet someone that I found compelling. I would ask, 'May I meet you?' before engaging in further conversation. I almost never got a no. It inevitably enabled the opportunity for a further conversation. I met a lot of really interesting people that way." I think this is Bill Ackman's biggest contribution to society. I think the people made fun of it. There's great memes of guys was like whispering like "May I meet you" to girls, and like the menswear guy, he says, "I just asked a cat, may I meet you?" But honestly, I think it is non-offensive, and people need to meet in person, and maybe this is the way. People are posting online, according to the Daily Dot, that it's actually working for them. So
I think
I'm all about it.
I think Bill Ackman may have solved America's loneliness problem. I think young men everywhere now will find companionship that will signal an entire change in the politics of our nation. It will solve, the emotional state. It will bring new economic growth and vitality to the country. So, Bill Ackman, thank you.
So good.
Thank you.
Someone posted like their text messages with someone. He goes, "Bill Ackman, you're the GOAT." They go to this, go, "So this Saturday, may I meet you?" And the person goes, "May I meet you what? Honestly, what the hell? Sure."
I mean, but also, hold on. In terms of the posting, all right, now that we've given Bill his due, to me, one of the weirdest parts of it, though, was like just a reminder of the incentives of like online posting is that, come on, how often do you really think this was happening IRL, as long as we're continuing on the Gen Z slang side of things?
How often was Bill Ackman saying this in real life?
No. Forget Bill Ackman.
Yeah.
How often do you think out there, other than I saw pictures of people holding up signs, "May I meet you," people posting stories about it working for them, how often do you really think this was happening?
That people, after Bill Ackman tweeted that, were going out and saying,
and
"May I meet
actually
you" to
saying
people.
it, and it was actually working, and it was a whole thing. Because first of all,
even if it's minuscule, I still applaud it because it's better than nothing. Honestly, I think the person that goes up to someone and says, "May I meet you?" is better than the person on their phone in the bar laughing at the memes of making fun of
that's
Bill
fair.
Ackman.
Actually, you know what? You're right.
I hand it to them.
I'll buy that. I'll buy that.
Oh God!
If it gets someone off their phone while they're in the bar, thank you.
We
Bill.
like it.
Yeah.
Someone just posted a screenshot of their Hinge, and it's like a full inbox of people only writing, "May I meet you?"
It is amazing that for someone known for the longest tweets imaginable,
Single line.
4 words is actually what's really going to make a lasting impact from him.
Folks, I just want to say, as we close this show, I got Ranjan out here today to do this in person just with a simple text.
Just a
May
simple
I meet
text.
you?
4
Look what we're
simple
doing.
words.
We're making podcast magic.
We're making podcast magic. We've solved the loneliness
We've solved
problem.
the loneliness problem. Everything, society is healed, and there's no bubble. Good stuff, Ranjan. Thanks for
Good
coming.
stuff. On that, see you next week.
Note. Yeah, thanks for being here in person, and again for doing this week by week. All right, folks, thank you for listening and watching. If you are with us on YouTube or Spotify, next Wednesday, Ellen Hewitt, the author of a book titled The Empire of Orgasm, is going to come on to talk about groupthink in Silicon Valley. We hope you join us then, and Ranjan and I will be back the following Friday to break down the week's news. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time on Big Technology Podcast.